Tonight, tonight, tonight. 9-0. Good God, I'm cheesy. I mean, Phil Collins, really? Yeah, Phil Collins.
Hi guys, Eli here with Ancestral Recall, and I am here today to tell you guys about my day one of Grand Prix Atlantic City 2015. So I went 9-0 on day one, undefeated. I dropped about 4 games on the day, and I want to talk with you guys about my pool and what I built. And I'll talk about why I picked these colors and what I passed over in the other colors. So my deck is the only undefeated deck that went with green as a major color. White is my major color. I've got black and green as subcolors. The thing to understand about this format is, thanks to Megamorph, you can play a lot of morphs of the colors that are not your primary colors, and you'll have mana to flip them up in the late game. So that's why I got away with the mana base that I did. Because when you don't have Megamorph, it's a lot harder to play 3 colors. But because of Megamorph, this format can be very forgiving for multiple colors, even if there's not a lot of fixing like Khans of Tarkir. So let's get into the creatures. So we have 2 1-drops. First 1-drop is Dragon Hunter. So 2/1 blocks dragons. Pretty awesome. Most of the time it was a 1-drop for me attacking. I never blocked a dragon with this all day. And my other 1-drop is Typhoid Rats. Typhoid Rats being a nasty little 1/1, trades for 2-drops, 3-drops, 4-drops, 5-drops, and it occasionally gets through if you play it on turn 1 for 2 or 3 points of damage. Really nice card. I love this card. At our 2-drops in terms of creatures, we've only got 1 2-drop, and that is Soul Summons, which, okay, it's a sorcery, but it's effectively a grizzly bear, and they're perfectly reasonable in this format, but the ability to have the potential to manifest, that's pretty saucy. Now, our 3-drops, I'm going to tell you guys everything that is a morph I put into my 3-drop pile. So there's a ton of 3-drops. Aven Sunstriker, Misthoof Kirin, which I can unmorph for 2. That is pretty sweet. Really solid. That's a draw towards white. Aven Sunstriker, not as big a draw for white because it costs a fair amount to Megamorph. There were a bunch of times I had Echoes of the Kin Tree out, and it was cheaper just to play the thing and just manually bolster it. So Marsh Hulk, excellent morph card in the late game. This is so big. Reckless Imp, this combos really well. I mean, it's another 2-drop. It's another thing to do with my mana on turn 2, and that's nice. But it also combos really well with this guy, Orc Sure Shot. So giving creatures -1/-1 until end of turn. If I could play Morph and then play Dash Out Reckless Imp on turn 5, that's 2 triggers off the Sure Shots, which means I can kill a Morph, and that was super efficient. Silumgar Assassin. This guy was brutal. It killed Warden of the Noun, of the Adjective Noun, that green mythic from Fate Forged. It killed that a bunch of times, 3 times in one matchup. Really amazing card. The thing about, it has to, the power greater than this can't block it. Not that big deal. Not that big a deal. But this is a fine card. Vulturous Aven. I exploited a decent amount of times during the weekend. I never played it without exploiting something. No, there's one time I played it just as a straight up 2/3. Airy Bowmasters. This is another morph that occasionally fool kills a flyer. This is a perfectly reasonable body. Einok Artillerist. This card, I almost never see anyone playing it, but red decks will play Gore Swine, which is the same mana for a 4/1 without the trinket text. But actually, I was able to bolster it a couple times during the weekend, and so it actually had reach, and people would attack with flyers into it. And oops, sorry, man. Keep that in mind. I was able to kill people with this. But yeah, just like trading for 4 drops or 5 drops, this is still a reasonable card. This is a good card for the waiting game. It's a good card to support you on turn, to support you against aggressive draws on turn 4, because this will generally trade with more expensive things. Dragonscar Bear. This is an excellent 3-drop, and again, if you're going for the late game, this guy will get you to the late game once you have thrown up enough defense, as long as you can keep the skies clear. Dromoka the Eternal. This is my bomb. This is an absolute bomb. Bolstering 2 every turn while attacking with 5/5 is just unholy good. Abzan Sky Captain. Perfectly reasonable card. Nothing too special, but, you know, dying and bolstering for 2. Possibly trading with a flyer. It's good enough. Dagatara the Adamants. This is way better. If you played this guy with Cons and Fate Reforged, not super exciting. But with Megamorph, this guy's value really picked up, because your opponents are playing with more +1/+1 counters, and you can move counters from their guy to your guy. So he mucks with combat math really good. Orc Sure Shot, excellent card. Sometimes when the board's clear, you can just get in. If you play this guy and then they have only a morph out, then you play a creature and swing with this guy, they've got to deal with it. This is a superlative threat. Big fan of this card. I'm definitely going to draft these more. And yeah, so I talked about Typhoid Rats. So that's that. Only one 5-drop, which is Dromoka. Only 4 drops. And lots of ways to use my mana in the late game with morphing. So yeah, good stuff. So as for our removal, we've got Epic Confrontation, which is exactly correctly priced. Enduring Victory, a little expensive, but it was well worth it in the late game. Flatten, premier removal, excellent stuff. Valorous Stance, most of the time it was protecting my guys. I was protecting Dromoka with it, but other times you definitely want to just remove an opponent's threat. There was one game I was totally sleeping on. I was so upset with myself afterwards, but I won the match, obviously, but the guy was playing Erishin Champion, and he bolstered it for 2, and it was the only creature on the board, and I took 15 points of damage, and I was sitting on Valor Stance the whole time. I was so annoyed with myself. You know, I was just on tilt for a while because I had not drawn a creature. Return to the Earth. Play this over Naturalize every time, because this destroys dragons. In Draft, you'll see these quite often. In Sealed, you're going to see powerful enchantments. 1 out of every 3 or 4 decks will have one of these. So you're going to see a powerful enchantments like Outpost Siege or Monastery Siege or whatever siege it is 2 or 3 times, and you're going to see flyers the rest of the time. But when you destroy powerful enchantments, you'll know this card is well worth main decking. I'm completely serious about this. Way better than Naturalize. Dromoka Monuments. I attacked with this a couple times during the tournament. It's good to have one more flyer. My deck has a reasonable number of flyers in it. So we've got Dromoka, we've got the Aven, we've got the Imp, we've got Sunstriker and Kirin. So with Monument, that's 6 flyers, and that's a good amount of evasion. So that's pretty powerful. And once I was able to attack with this and Dromoka on the table, yeah, bolstering twice for 2 is pretty sweet. And the other thing is Echoes of the Kin Tree. So I talked with a couple people over the weekend, and they said that they never cared for this. And I said, yeah, in Draft, this is not that good. Draft decks tend to be leaner, meaner, lower mana curves, and you're not going to have mana to really use this efficiently. But in Sealed deck, you want to be able to use all your mana every turn to develop your board, to be a threat. Now, that doesn't always mean that you're the beatdown. Sometimes it's you're solidifying your board, building up your positions, and just making your opponent's board weak and horrible. And Echoes of the Country will do that. There was a game I played where I didn't need to play any more creatures because I was getting 4 power and 4 toughness across the board every turn. And this went on for 6 to 8 turns, and my opponent was playing things like Gurmag Angler, and I was like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, my guys were just so big that it was very, very hard to deal with. And this card is an excellent card in Sealed because you get to use your mana every turn. That's crucial in so many formats whenever, beatdown isn't that prioritized. In Zendikar Limited, which was a really, really fast format, this card would be garbage. But here, pretty awesome. Okay, so now that we saw what made the main deck, let's look at the stuff that didn't make the main deck. So in white, Aven Tactician is 5 mana, which is quite expensive and doesn't impact the board enough. Yes, it has flying, but just a little too slow. Center Soul does not save any creatures that get in combat with a morph, which is kind of sad. This is a perfectly reasonable card in Limited, I feel, but in Draft, but I'm not sure if this is that great in Seal. It's okay. Champion of Ration, this is something I boarded in a fair amount, especially against aggressive red decks, anything that has dash. Trading with a guy and gaining 3 life is a perfectly fine investment. And that's pretty much all it's going to do. My bolster is not big enough. Fate Forgotten, it's nice to have an option, but I feel that Return to the Earth is way better. Glaring Aegis, in a very super aggressive deck, this might be okay, but I don't care for this. Graceblade Artisan, I don't like auras, so I never see myself playing this, but on the other hand, just raw 2-3 stats, it's okay. Herald of Dromoka, this I played a fair amount, especially against aggressive decks. I need to have more early drops, because there are some decks that will get very aggressive, even in Sealed, and this guy buys you a decent amount of time. The other warriors getting Vigilance, yes, my deck has warriors, but this was Shrink Text. Abzan Runemark, I don't care about this. Again, I told you guys I don't like auras. I don't like getting 2-for-1s. Dragon Bell Monk, there's not a lot of instant speed tricks in my deck, so it's playable. If you like this card, I'm fine with it. Just having it around, it's a good card for bluffing. Great Horn Krushok, this is good in a white-blue deck, because if you have enough flyers and you want to just come up the ground, this guy will do that for you, but I don't care for it. And in blue, what are the cards that tempted me in blue? Not a lot. Aven Surveyor is a flying Manowar, or a 3/3 flyer for 5. Although, really, I feel like the Manowar is a better play. But this is not enough to draw me to the color. Taigam Strike, if you're playing blue-green, this is actually a pretty reasonable spell if you're playing guys with high power or green-red. But, yeah, red-blue, I guess. Taigam Strike would like this, but not my cup of tea. Negate, I really like Negate in this format. It wins a lot of games, especially mid-combat. Mystic Meditation costs too much. Monastery Lore Master, it's good, but I don't think it's enough to draw me the color. I really respect Elusive Spellfist, but not a draw to blue. Dirger Nemesis, it's big, but I don't want it. Dance of the Skywise, nice trick, son, but yeah, sure, I'd play it if I was playing blue, but it's not going to get me in the color. Blessed Reincarnation, okay, it will deal with bombs, but not my cup of tea. This does not get me interested in that color at all. Black cards I didn't play. Coat with Venom. It's a combat trick, but I don't really care for this card. I had good removal that didn't require to have a creature in play. So this, not my cup of tea, but I got badly hit with it a couple times. I mean, if it saves your guy and kills something, yeah, this is fine. Grave Purge. It's cantrip Raise Dead that can possibly get you a bunch of guys back over time. Perfectly reasonable, but I don't feel that this is what I want to be doing. Mind Rots. This card I always like in slower formats, but I feel that this format is still fast enough. But Mind Rot did not have a home in my deck. Ancestral Vengeance, great in draft, but double black for a small effect like this in sealed, not good. Red, Dragonfather, if you're doing a swarming tactic like red-white draft strategy, yeah, you can do this, but in sealed, I don't see it. Kolgan Stormsinger, I have a lot of respect for this card. It impressed me this weekend. Before that, I was not very supportive of it. Lose Calm is your standard threaten effect. This does win games. I respect it. Is it enough to get me into red? Not really. Stormwing Dragon, this is a dreadful trigger, just not big enough. I don't care for it. Summit Prowler, this card I actually really like. I do enjoy drafting these 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th if I want to play aggressive red. Although I like to play green, and there's better value that you can get at 4 mana. But anyway, in sealed, sure, I'll play this. Tormenting Voice. In sealed, you really want to be able to control the cards you have in your hand. So this is actually a really powerful spell. We've got 2 copies. But is it a draw in and of itself to red? No. This is something that draws me into red. Volcanic Vision. Because I've played this before for 4 and 5. And just, it's wiping your opponent's board. This is like a Doom Blast. But, you know, it's the mono red Doom Blast. You know, you have to play another spell before you get there, but you've probably played spells to get to 7 mana. So, I am a big fan of this card, and I spent about 6 or 7 minutes during deck building trying to analyze, should I be playing red? Eventually the answer was no, but this card made it really tough. Break Through the Line, not in this deck. I don't think anybody played it during the weekend. Collateral Damage, great in token decks, but there's just not enough tokens here. It's fine. Ogre, too much. Heel Cutter, this is a solid red card. This and the Volcanic Visions are the 2 best red cards in this pool. Is that enough to get me into the color? No. Shockmaw Dragon, I do love the idea of doing 1 damage to ping all their guys if it hits, but 6 mana for 4/4 is still a lot. This is, yeah, I'd play it if I was in red, but I'm not in red. Smoldering Efreet, bad bear, but it's still a bear. As for our green, things I didn't play, Converse Strider, this, I like Inoc Artillerist at 4/1, 5/1 for 1 mana more, even with Hexproof, which is a real ability, not going to work for me. Display of Dominance, this is a bad hoser. I mean, yes, it's a counter spell. It's a counter spell. That's the thing to understand. This is a counter spell, and occasionally it'll destroy other things, but counter spell is relevant. Naturalize, good card. I will play it in sealed pools at a Grand Prix because I'm going to be playing a lot of decks. If I was playing in a sealed PPTQ, I would be playing with Naturalize because people will play powerful enchantments and artifacts in sealed formats. But I'm not going to play Naturalize when I've got Return to the Earth, because Return to the Earth is way better. Just, it costs more mana, but it's a more powerful spell. Servant of the Scale, I don't like 1-drops. Tread Upon, this is a controversial pick. I did not add it to the deck because I feel like I don't want pump so much, I want good removal. Ambush Krodic, this is a decent fatty, and there's a couple things there were a couple tricks to do with this, but I just didn't feel that my deck wanted a 6-drop. My mana was better used unmorphing my guys instead. Ruthless Instincts. Everything I say about Tread Upon goes for this card, but it's 3 mana, not 2, so that is pretty expensive. It's not going to be what I want to play with. Whisper of the Wilds. This card I really wanted to play, but my curve was low enough I felt like it was probably gilding the lily. As for... so we talked about Dramoka already. Some other stuff I opened. Pristine Skywise. Wow, this is a really solid card because getting protection at instant speed is going to be very handy because people want to remove this. And yeah, this is really good. Ruthless Deathfang. I hate this card. It ruined... it stopped me... it shut down a really great draw for me in round 15. I hate this card so much. Savage Ventmaw. I mean, this is a draw for these colors. I really think it's a solid draw in sealed because you'll be able to get there. You just have to store up enough guys to get exploited. Savage Ventmaw, solid card, did some good work for me in draft. The several times I played it, not just this weekend, but previously. But you know, 6 mana, it's a little pricey, but I think you get what you pay for here. Grim Contest, I did not play this because I need to have decent-sized creatures on the board. My deck has lots of morphs. That's why Grim Contest doesn't work with this deck. Warflare, I had a couple thoughts about splashing this back when I was on the Heel Cutter Volcanic Visions plan, but I immediately thought better of it. So I mentioned the Dramoka Monument, so my lands, 4 forests, 7 plains, 5 swamps, and I can get away with this because I've got so many morphs. Morph is a mechanic that lets you be a little fast and loose with your colors. Jungle Hollow also being a big contributor there. Keeper of the Lens, honestly I think it's garbage. Stormrider Rig, it's an interesting version on the Leonin Scimitar in that, generally speaking, you're not going to be paying too much mana for it to equip. So it's playable, but I just didn't feel like trying it out. I wanted to play with more oomph in my creatures. Tapestry of the Ages. I do not have enough non-creature spells in my main deck to make this worthwhile. Windscarred Crag, that's a solid card. I do like that. Huge Stone Retainers. As low as my curve is, I still don't think it's low enough to be playing this card. This is something that's going to be really good in a bunch of draft decks. It's terrible here. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to do just a few sample hands so you guys can check out what this looks like in action. So that's the nice thing about being on the mothership, is that you can totally do that. So here's our first hand, and we'll take a look and see if this is a keeper or not. Dragonscar Bear, Einok Artillerist, Plains, Soul Summons, Plains, okay. If we have a forest, this is awesome. Okay, this is not a great hand. I mean, if we draw another land, this could be good business. But there's no morphs on the green side, and on the black side, we've got Typhoid Rats and Vulturous Haven. So, yeah, we're playing the lottery with this hand. I do not want this hand. Let's toss it back, and let's do another one. So we've got Bowmasters, Typhoid Rats, Bear, Forest, Plains, Swamp, Dramoka Monuments. Okay, this is an awesome hand. Well, let's look at our plays. You know, without looking at future draws. So we've got turn 1 Rats, turn 2, well, okay, we missed turn 2. Turn 3 Dragonscar Bear, turn 4 we can follow up with Bowmasters, and we can, you know, the Monument's going to get online, so maybe we can play that in a 2-drop. There's a lot of ways for this to go. So this is an excellent hand. Here we've got Plains, Typhoid Rats, Forests, Dagatar, Dragon Hunter, and Valorous Stance. Okay, so these rats are going to be sitting around for a while, but it's okay to play these in the late game. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've got a 1-drop Dragon Hunter. Dragon Hunter is a great 1-drop. It's a better 1-drop than the Rats, I'd say. We've got Dagatar for the late game, and we have Valorous Stance, which is a pretty peachy removal spell. So while this is not the fastest of hands, this is absolutely a keepable hand. So yeah, I'll do this. So we've got Jungle Hollow, Plains, Assassin, Flatten, Plains, Monument, Return to the Earth. This is a slower hand. Although we do have all of our colors here. We do have a turn 3 play. We have a very good chance of drawing our 4th land, so we'll be able to flatten 2 removal spells. So this is not the most aggressive hand, but you know, the Assassin itself is a removal spell per se. So yeah, this is a keepable hand. It's not the most amazing hand. I really wish we had a 1-drop here, but yeah, I definitely keep this. So we've got Typhoid Rats, Orc Sure Shot, Plains, Forest, Swamp, Swamp, Swamp. This is a slower hand. I feel like you could still play this. You can mull this. I'm kind of torn in this situation here. I think I would probably keep this, especially if I were on the play. I feel like, you know, it's taking a chance, but I really like the power of Sure Shots, so I definitely think I would keep this. Swamp, Dramoka, Echoes Country, Soul Summons, Dramoka, Enduring Victory, Plains. Yeah, this is a keeper. So this game is going to play out pretty clearly. We're going to go turn 2 Soul Summons. Turn 3, the right play here is Dramoka Monument. And if we top deck land, then we play a turn 4 Dramoka. That is exciting. Enduring Victory, it's 5 mana, it's expensive. This is not where I want to see this, but it's okay. This is a fine hand once we, presuming we hit a 3rd land. At 17 land, I feel that's a safe. That's a pretty safe bet. But yeah, Soul Summons makes this a playable hand. Typhoid Rats, Plains, Stance, Hollow, Sunstriker, Marsh Hulk. Yeah, Snap Keep. So not too much to say about this hand. We've got something that's going to get played on turn 2, which is the Rats. We've got 3-drop, 4-drop, and a removal spell. It's not going to be a great removal spell, but it also saves the guy. So yeah, you absolutely got to keep this hand. Just one more. Just one more. Just to drive home how good this deck is built. Ionok Artillerist, Soul Summons, Forest, Return to the Earth, Swamp, Plains, Dragon Hunter. Wow! Wow, that is a draw. I love this draw. So we've got 1 draw. Yeah, so this is a slide draw. We've got Jackal Pup on turn 1. We've got Grizzly Bear on turn 2. We've got a 4-power guy on turn 3. And there's a removal spell sitting here, and we've got all of our colors. So, yeah, this is, admittedly, you can say, well, none of these cards are super powerful. It's not bombs, but these are all solid limited spells. So I feel like I built this deck very, very well. I feel like Echoes of the Spirit Tree is the one card that you could argue about, but I feel like I made lots and lots of good decisions here, and I was able to play patiently. I knew when to be the aggressor. I knew when I had to be control, and the deck has lots of tools to play both roles. So anyway, guys, I hope you learned a lot from this. I know I didn't talk much about my draft. I went 2-4 on day 2, which was still good enough for a 55th place and $250. And hey, I was able to stay at my aunt's house in Ventnor, and you know, I took the train in. That's round trip $20. So I came out pretty far ahead from playing this GPs. So I was very happy about that. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to add a couple clips here and there so you guys can get a little flavor for my day one performance. And yeah, I apologize for the bad singing. But hey man, when you're 9-0, you got rights. This is Eli Kaplan for Ancestral Recall signing off. Good games and good luck.
In the middle of the night with Chase, I've been walking in my dreams with Chase to a 9-0 record at GPAC, and I'm searching for something. It's the Q, the PT, just got the 4-2. That's all that I need. Good luck to me tomorrow.